Good afternoon, folks, and good evening and good morning to all those who are joining in from different time zones. I'm Bhavesh from the Swift Enterprise product management team, and we are here for the webinar on the Swift Enterprise 8.0 release. Before we begin, I'd like to assure you that the webinar is being recorded and you will receive a notification once we upload it in a couple of days. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, our official Digita Inc. YouTube channel, so that whenever we upload it on our YouTube channel, you will get notification right away. And you can also subscribe to it for all the great webinars that we have for folks like you, with the industry best practitioners, so that we can continue to help you on your agile transformation journey. Another thing that we would want to touch upon is this is happening work from home. So please pardon me if in case there is some disturbance. We will try to patch it up and get across right away. So with that said, let's look at what we have planned for today. So the agenda is primarily about the business rules, right? This is the big bang feature that we have come up as part of our Swift Enterprise 8.0 release. First, we will look at why we have built about the business rules capability and how it is going to help you save much of your time and needs. As well as we will obviously get into the application and demonstrate some of these capabilities on how you can go about setting up the business rules, setting up some of the advanced business rules. And finally, towards the end, we will look at some of the announcements that we have planned for the upcoming release and open it up for Q&A. That being said, if you are wanting to ask any question, we have the Q&A section on the right-hand side of your screen. So please put in your questions as we continue during the session. We will definitely take those up towards the end of the session. So without further ado, let's get started. So first up, we'll just step back a bit and look at what business rules are intended to solve for you. So there are going to be times when the teams are going to end up spending time to keep the single source of truth in the system up to date. So our primary purpose for that team is to help them work smarter by saving time, eliminating all the manual updates that general team has to do in order to ensure that the relevant right picture is available whenever one wants to look at it inside the application. So that is one big time saver in which the team will not have to focus upon. They will be then able to focus more on the value-added work or the actual work they are wanting to accomplish as part of the tool. So that is one of the primary reasons why we felt that we should be investing and building a new capability that is going to help team not just work using the new agile methodologies and work and make use of them to improve upon their work output and outcomes, but also improve the overall efficiency in the work that they are doing with the help of our tool. Secondly, this is built with the intent that this is built for the team and by the team. So all that you need to do is go into this feature module and start using it right away. Yes, you do not have to spend time getting trained or learning a new configuration language in order to set up any of these business rules. This is a do-it-yourself setup. We have a simple wizard-based interface wherein any team member can go ahead and set up the business rule. And we also have a visual map handy so that even if the business rule is coming out to be a bit too complex to be seen across all the steps that one would have to configure it across, this visual map is also there to help the end user understand what is it that he's been building. Finally, this is of course done with the intent to serve all your business needs. So we have packed in a whole lot of capability in this features from the point of view of what kind of triggers, what kind of actions, and a whole lot of dynamic conditions that can be used in order to build this business rule. So whole lot of things that you can make use of, not just to save your time, focus on the important work that you are wanting to accomplish as part of your daily work routine, and with the ease of a simple citizen UI, wherein you yourself are able to set it up. Now, while this is the intent, let's look at what is a business rule and what are the basic building blocks of a typical business. So first up, it constitutes of three parts: the trigger, condition, and actions. Triggers are an event or an action that is going to invoke or start the business rule. So it could be any action, like a card is being created, a card is being blocked, a card is being unblocked, it is getting routed next workflow stage or rejected to the previous stage. All these actions that happen as part of your work item updates, those are the trigger points. Next one is the conditions. This is where you will define in what condition the business rule should get executed. So not just the action which is driving the when aspect of the business rule, but also the data condition. If it has been met true, only then the business rule will actually get into the action aspect, which is of updating the card. So action is where you will define whether you want certain fields to get updated, or you want the work item to get routed, rejected, blocked, unblocked. All the same actions that we talked about as part of the triggers, those are also available as part of the update that you would want to make on the cards. So these are the three simple steps that one has to follow in order to build the business rule. Just to illustrate it with a simple example, what we would do is, let's say, when a defect is being created, if the priority is set to critical, then my due date should be same as the date identified. So here is where we are wanting to say that whenever a critical defect is reported, just make sure that the due date is the same day, so that everyone focuses on it and tries to get it fixed on this very same day. So this is a simple business rule that one could build as part of the capability. Now let's look at how this will translate inside the application. So this is how it looks like. I was talking about the visual map here. So when a defect is created, if the priority is critical, then for the context of the current card, update the due date to what has been defined as the date identified. So this is the way one would look at it once the rule has been built. So let's quickly go back and see how this can be built as well. So if I go to add screen here, I'll say this update defect due date to date identified. And I'm doing this for critical defects. So this is the first information that you would like to provide whenever you're going to go about defining a business rule. Next step is the identification of the trigger point. So this wizard-based interface is going to guide you through each step that one has to perform while building the business rule. So when you click on event triggers, it will show you all the actions that could happen on a card, which is going to invoke the business rule. So you have the standard operations as card block, unblock, create card, reject, route, update, all these. So for instance, let's say I say create card, and I have to choose for which kind of card I need this to happen. So I'm selecting defect here and say next. Now that I've chosen and defined my event trigger, the wizard has taken me to the data condition aspect. Again, here is where I can simply select for the attribute priority, the condition if it is equal to critical, and I say next. The action should be performed. Now it has now taken me to the action aspect, and here is where I'll say that for my current card, which is the card which is being created, I would like to update it, and I would like to update the due date to either a user input field, or in this case, as I set out to be, the date identified. Now, this is how one can go about creating a simple rule. And as I was illustrating, this is how it will look up on the visual map itself. So while you are building it, it navigates you through all these steps, and you have the visual map also, wherein you can validate if the rule that you have been building, it is as per your needs. So let's just have a look at how this business rule will also get executed. So I have it configured on this one. Go to defects. Just hold on for a moment. All right. So I'm saying unable to log in into the application. That's my name here. And I'll set the priority to critical, and my date identifies 9th of April. The moment I click on save, what you saw happening here is the screen got refreshed and the due date was set to 9th of April. It is also indicating to me at the bottom that a business rule has also been executed, because it was not what the end user did, but something which the system did. So it's important to notify the user whenever a business rule is being executed. We are ensuring that he gets to know what business rule was executed as part of the update that he made. At the same time, we are doing the due diligence to ensure that this is also getting recorded part of the activity log. So work item updated due to the business rule, due date for new critical defects. That was the name that we had given, and that's how it has been recorded as well. So this was a simple way one could go ahead and define the business rules. Of course, this wouldn't be always the case where you can go ahead and define such a simple condition. The conditions that you can build with these are several. So for example, we have given the standard 3 parenthesis operators and the and or operators. So for example, I can say priority is critical, and I'll add a new row and say, or if the impact is critical, and I'll add another row, complete this bracket, and say, and my module is equal to login. So this is a default been reported for my login module. Of course, if the priority is being set to critical, or the impact is being set to critical, anytime a user is not able to log in, then it is important that we resolve it on the same day, if not later. So I'll say next, and the action remains the same. We are not changing anything there. So that is one aspect. And I can save this. And again, if I go back to the visual map, it illustrates the and or conditions, that if my priority is critical, or if the impact is critical, and if the module is login. Again, the visual map is getting updated accordingly. I could also have it based on, say, different conditions, say update card. Let's say, once again, okay. So I could go to the data condition, or sorry, let me just try out another trigger here, where I'm saying update card, and I say next, and I say that the data condition is either of these, or if the module is login, let me just say that priority is not critical, it is high. Okay, and I go to the next level, wherein I can define the action. Now, since the priority is set to high, it is not something that requires same day resolution. So I could set it to due date is equal to date identified plus 1 day. So this way I can go ahead and say that my due date for a high priority defect can be the next day on which it has been identified. So you have these options for date identified kind of fields or number fields in case of rank or any other number input field that one may have as part of the uh, work item. So here I'll set it to say save. And again, if I go to any of these defects, I'll have a quick look at the visual map saying that if priority is high or impact is high and module is still login, it should set the date identified to +1. So let me go back to defects, set the priority to high, and this, as I said, the business rule is going to get executed because I've set the trigger to update. So I've updated the priority to high, and just for, okay, I'll leave it as it is, set the module to login and say save. The due date business rule got executed and the due date has been set to 10th of April. So you can go on and build in some complex conditions as part of the business rule in this manner. So moving on to the from conditions of a typical update or create, one could also do it for route and reject. So for example, if you are wanting to ensure that whenever a work item is getting routed from an integrator stage to the tester stage, and if the work item has not been marked as resolved, or if the root cause has not been identified, it should straight away reject the defect. This is something, again, end user has to do the due diligence to ensure if all the necessary fields have been updated before we actually integrate this into the build and get it executed. So this is one of the simple checks that one could have as part of the route operation. And what we are doing here is we have set the trigger to be route, we have set a complex condition, and we have set the action as reject as well. So here again, the option of performing an action and the trigger are working together, wherein you are routing the defect as well as rejecting the defect as part of the action that is getting updated. So this is another case where you can go ahead and make the update. While these rules are not just limited to other certain workflow-based item types or defects, in general, I'm just illustrating it for the purpose of example. On similar lines, one could also have it for different kinds of agile cards. So for example, here is where I have defined a business rule saying that if an epic, if the epic is getting blocked at the time of trigger, now the action or the trigger that I have selected here is that the epic is getting blocked, and if the person complete is greater than 10%, so the epic has made progress, but the rank is less than 90, as in the priority of that epic is not that high. It is not above 90, so it is something that can be deprioritized. So whenever such a kind of epic is getting blocked and it has made certain progress and priority wise it is not that high, I just want to ensure that none of the child cards continue to work on it. So this is where I've said that as part of the action, I'm performing the action on the child cards. So if I just go to the action aspect here, you will have the option to select child card or the parent card apart from the current card context that we saw in our previous example. So for agile cards, you can make this kind of a selection wherein if you are wanting to make an update to the child card or roll up some of the information to the parent card, that is where you can make use of these contexts. And here is where I'm saying that the block card option action should get performed, and it should also get tagged with the blocking reason as deprioritized. So let me just quickly illustrate this as well. So if I go to my epic here, So I have an epic with couple of user stories. What I'm going to say is I'll block this one, saying deprioritize. Say save. Again, the business rule getting executed is being notified to the user. And as you can see, as part of the visual map, the visual representation of the cards, the epic has been blocked, as well as the stories which belong to that epic also get blocked. And just for such actions that are getting performed, we are also ensuring we are recording it as a comment as well. So not just an activity log whenever a field update is happening, but for such important actions like block, uh, unblock, or route or reject, we are ensuring that we are adding a comment that this was blocked by the rule. Blocking epic should block its child cards. So this kind of information is also available as a comment, and the action gets performed right away. So this being the example of how one could do this for one of the rules for agile cards. Another good example that one could apply here is when you are trying to build user stories and ensure that you're wanting to see the progress on the epics. So generally one would what would do is, let me just show you this on the board itself. So you could have a swim lane defined for your epic progress. And as you can see here, we have defined one of the percentage complete columns. So depending upon the progress that has been made by the epic child cards, the epics are automatically moving into the uh, column from left to right. So in this case, the person complete is 92%. So this has moved so forward. And similarly, in this case, the percentage is 70%. So it is at this mark. So these kind of progress updates you would want to have whenever you are having a discussion with your uh, higher ups or the management team, so that they are able to get visibility not just from the child card perspective, but at the epic and at the theme level as well. So this is one of the capabilities which we had introduced as part of our agile program management capabilities. And this is where one could try and automate a small update. So whenever I've taken up a card which is going to get executed as part of the sprint, I will ensure that the epic also gets added automatically onto my epic progress lane. So this again is a manual step right now, but I can easily automate this with the help of the rules. So bringing epics onto the board is what I have configured as the business rule. And I'm saying that whenever a user story is being updated, and if the current column is story execution ready as part of the story execution lane, then if the context of this is the parent epic, then my epic should also get moved into the epic progress lane and the develop in progress column, the percentage complete column, as we saw earlier. So here I am bringing the card onto the board. In similar lines, you could also decide to move a card from one column to another column based on some data conditions. So with this, we have also looked at a couple of examples one could have for the agile cards as well. Now, while we are able to build these business rules for the normal work items or the agile cards, one of the aspects that we have also tried to capture is the value stream management. So it's really important that whatever work that has been happening as part of the value stream that we saw earlier, the work is flowing from left to right at an optimal pace. And one of the effective ways to ensure that is being done is with the help of WIP limits. So whenever a WIP limit is being violated, that is also one of the triggers that we have provided. So along with all the other standard operations that one could perform on a card, which are part of the triggers, we have also provided the option of if the WIP limit is reached or exceeded. So this is a special kind of a trigger. As I said, this is not happening because a card has been updated, but a WIP limit that you have set for your column has been exceeded. So here I've chosen that if the demo column that I've configured as part of my value stream, if it is piling up with a lot of stories and the WIP limit is getting exceeded, I should be notified along with my colleague that this WIP limit is getting violated, so that I can try and prioritize this work and get the demos done for the cards which are waiting for an update. So I need to clean up my queue. So this is where one puts this kind of notification whenever the WIP limit has been violated. So you will receive a notification saying that the trigger name and the column for which the WIP limit was violated, and you will also get to know the details, which card got updated due to which the WIP limit was violated. So this is a notification email one could get. You can also configure this to be a notification to specific participants, or you can configure it to be sent to all the roles belonging, all the members belonging to a particular role. So for example, I can say that just send this to the leads. Maybe the QE leads need to be informed whenever a card is, if the WIP limit is getting violated for the testing queue. So this is when all the QA leads will get a notification whenever the WIP limit is violated. So you have both the options available as part of the update. And on similar lines, one could also have cards getting created as well. So whenever you're performing an action, we are ensuring a card is getting updated, but you can also configure a rule wherein if let's say a critical defect is being reported, you would want to have a build getting created or an action item getting created. So that can also be one of the actions that you can perform as part of the rule. So here is where I've said that whenever a critical defect is being reported and it comes to my execution column, I want to ensure that I create a new card, and I can set up the name as well to build for CSF, because I know a critical defect is waiting in my queue and I need to fire a build at the end of this day once the defect has been resolved. So automatically a build item will get generated, and I can go ahead and do the necessary due diligence to ensure that the build is also getting packed by the end of the day along with the fix. So as I was saying, this is the action that one is trying to perform. So you have the option of for agile cards, you have the option for parent card, current card, and child card. But if you choose the trace card option, you get the option to create a card, and you can go ahead and define what all attributes value should be there. So if you're creating a new item, we are also ensuring you get the option to create it with certain rules or certain fields automatically populated. So I can say this is for this branch, this is for the 8.0 branch, and so on and so forth. I can go ahead and define the default set of values this newly created build instance should have. So to quickly summarize what we saw here, we first looked at how one can go about selecting a trigger. So we have a way to select whenever a card is getting created, updated, routed, rejected, blocked, unblocked, or when the WIP limit is being violated. So this is all the set of triggers that one would generally need whenever a trigger needs to be fired, and a whole lot of options that are available as part of the conditions. We looked at the standard operators of parenthesis and and or. You also have the option to set the value with the help of a user input value, or you could add a lag or a lead value against it. For date kind of fields or number kind of fields, you have greater than, lesser than, those kind of operators. And for textual fields, we have also the standard operators of contains or does not contain. So maybe you have a defect or a item which is going to contain the name of a customer. So you can build a rule that is going to cater to specific customer defects and ensure that it is getting updated as per the business need. So this kind of conditions will also come in handy at that time. And finally, at the actions, we saw that you can perform create card, you can do a route reject, you can do a block unblock, and not just for the current card, but you could do this for your parent card and child card as well. So these are all the options that are available, which are part of the standard steps to go about building a business rule. But this is where it doesn't end. This is where it also can be automated further. So while business rules are going to help you automate updates to your cards, we are also providing a way to automate the business rules as well. So there's an additional fourth option as part of the business rules wherein you can set the frequency for them. So this is where you can decide whether the frequency at which a business rule should get created. So let me just quickly show you how that can be done. So typically one would have say a weekly status report or a monthly customer survey that needs to go out, and you would want to create that as part of your actions, right? Or you're wanting to automate, as I said, a certain set of business rules on a daily or a frequency based basis. So for any of the rules, you have the option. Whenever you have set up the first three steps, you have the option of frequency, and you can say that execute this rule on a daily basis. You can have the option to set it under a range. So if this is something which is going to be time bound and you just want this to happen for the next couple of weeks or a couple of months, you could set it as the start and end date, and all the options that one would typically need, just like you have your calendar meeting set up on a frequency basis. All those similar options are available for your rules. So you can do it recur every 2 weeks, and I can say it should happen, let's say, every Wednesday. Similarly, for monthly, I can say it should be on the 8th of every first month, or if I want it on a quarterly basis, I'll say 8th of every third month. That way, this business rule can get executed. And as I was saying, it is not just limited to the business rule, but you can also go about creating a new card on a frequency basis. So for that, one would have to do is, as part of the event triggers itself, we have given the option to create a card. So you can select that one. And as I was saying, you can say, let's say you select customer survey, say next. As part of the data condition here, there's not much to do if you are not relying on an existing instance. So if you have an existing instance, you can copy the values for the next recurring event. Right now, I don't have one. Otherwise, you had the option to copy the values, or I can create a new one and say next. And as part of the action, I can say a new customer survey should get created. I can, just like I did for my new card creation instance, one can go ahead and create and update all the necessary fields that should be present whenever this customer survey gets created. So I have created a similar one wherein I've said that creating a recurring customer survey, create a new recurring card. I'm not relying on an existing one to copy some of the fields, and I've set the name to monthly customer survey. And in this case, I've set it to every weekday, but you can have it set for any frequency as we saw earlier. And if you go back, if you go to the instance that we have created as part of it, again, the instance will get created with the necessary details. In case you haven't chosen any of the mandatory fields as part of the creation, the instance will still get created. It's just that we are ensuring that the card, whenever it's created, the next update requires all the mandatory fields to be filled in. And as part of the activity log also, we are ensuring that the work item got created with the help of the business rule that we had set. So all the information is being updated and audited as part of the activity log as well. So that's how you can go about automating the business rules as well, so that you don't have to spend time and ensure that this is getting updated on a regular basis. you can also make use of the frequency option to create a recurring card. That is another capability in its own, wherein even if you're not setting up all these business rules to update the cards on certain data conditions, you can definitely make use of the create recurring card use case to just automate creation of them at regular intervals. So that being said, finally, let's look at what is coming soon as part of the updates to business rules. What we are also planning to introduce is a new set of triggers and actions to support multiple blocks or multiple flags on a card. So not always there is a single blocker or a single flag that one would have. So we will be introducing capability that will allow you to block a card multiple times using different blocking reasons. At the same time, you can also add multiple flags. Now, once this capability is available as part of the regular card features, you can also use it via business rules to get updated. Along with that, we will be enhancing the notifications so that whenever multiple cards are getting updated, so if you're doing a batch edit, you are importing a whole set of work items via XLS import, even at that point, you will get a notification on which items got updated based on the business rules. And for the frequency based notifications, you will also receive an email notification. And in the near future, we are going to try and update this further. Of course, we will be relying on the feedback from all our customers to help us grow this capability and to serve your business needs, and eventually also transition it into a GA feature. So with that, all these capabilities, we hope you will be able to get more done with ease. There is a new way to go about automating your updates to the cards or creating new cards at regular intervals with the help of business rules. Few things to remember while you're wanting to start using this. This is available as an add-on module. So you'll have to reach out to our support team or sales team to enable them for your app server. Along with that, it requires a push server notification server as well along with it. So if in case this is already not configured for you, you will have to ensure that the push server notification is also present. And finally, this is, as I said, this is currently in beta stage and limited to 5 rules per project at the moment. But of course, we would want to transition it into a full-blown feature based on the feedback that we receive from you. Stay safe. Thank you all for joining in.